On this episode of Where's the Line, me and Joseph discuss Tennessee's embarrassment in Fayetteville Saturday night, and we discuss Vanderbilt taking down number one Alabama. This is episode number 140. Where's the Line? Let's get into it.
You are now listening to the Where's the Line podcast with Joseph West and Britt Dillard. Enjoy the show.
Milton gonna take a shot wide open and just strutting in is Keaton. Joe Milton does it again.
Orji again on a blitz. Levis pocket collapses. He's on the run. He just heaves it up. And it's intercepted by Vanderbilt. And let the celebration begin. The streak is over at 26. The Commodores win it.
Talk about Vanderbilt football. All I gotta say, and you're going to hell. Bye.
Another edition of Where's the Line? It is Tuesday, October 8th. This is episode number 140. Britt Dillard joined here by Joseph West. How are you today, Joseph?
My bad, Britt. I was
That's
just
a
trying to
great
listen.
song.
I was trying to listen to some music.
Oh, is your phone
before.
ringing?
Well, hold on. Somebody else is calling me. Oh my gosh, we're back, baby! We're back! Come on! Come on! Come on! We're back! For the first time ever! Come
Let's
on!
go.
I'm great, Britt. How are you, baby? Let's go!
I'm not doing that good. I'll tell you that. The silver lining, terrible weekend for me in all aspects. My fiance broke up with me. The Vols lost. I don't know which one was worse, but the silver lining, Vanderbilt took down Alabama.
A gracious day to be on earth, and a beautiful day to be on earth it was this past Saturday on October 5th of 2024, a day that changed my life forever. Absolute pandemonium in Nashville. Just a day that I will talk about for the rest of my life. I mean, for sure, I would think. The first time Vanderbilt ever upset a number one team, I got to witness it. I may not have been there in person, but I was alive to see it. I watched every second of it, everything but 9 plays, which I actually have. Obviously, I've rewatched the game twice now. But two extremes here. Honestly, from the way that I feel right now and the way that Britt feels right now. Usually these roles are reversed. You can look back a season ago, probably pick an episode, and these roles are reversed. So it's going to be an interesting change here for today.
Yeah, my fiance did not break up with me. We actually were losers together. So
yeah,
that was nice, I guess.
That was a blessed evening. Y'all just being losers together. How was that?
Well, she was very upset. And then as the Tennessee game went on and we eventually lost, she honestly kind of pepped up a little bit, and I just joined her in misery. But
the thing that made me angry was what about this whole weekend is that Vanderbilt beat number one Bama, but I didn't want UT fans to get joy out of us beating Bama. But then here's the part that really pisses me off is that UT loses, and I like getting joy out of that. But I didn't want the Bama fans to be able to get joy out of that. I wanted them to also suffer. So it was like but I mean, for me, it all worked out for me. So I'm not that mad. I was just saying I hated that they got to see a little bit of satisfaction at the end of the day.
Yeah, I thought about you because Grace was like, I don't understand. Like 6 people have texted me about the game. And I was like, I thought about you. I was like, that's just part of it.
Yep. It really is. It's part of it, man. When your team loses, you're gonna get a bunch of text. I only texted one Bama fan that I know, and I said I threw in a word that I shouldn't have said, and that's I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I only texted one guy. I got a lot of congratulations texts. We'll get into all that. Let's start on the sad note here. Britt, Tennessee and Arkansas played this past weekend. We talked about it.
Yes, they did.
Me and Jordan talked about it. You talked about it. Or no, I'm sorry.
No, me and you talked about it.
Me and you talked about it. I apologize. Me and Britt talked about it. I don't know where I'm at. Me and Britt talked about it and had thoughts about the game. I would say this game actually went the exact opposite of every single thing that me and Britt said. I didn't go back and listen, but just from what I can remember, which apparently is not great, seeing how I just said I was talking with Jordan. But the things I can remember saying about the Arkansas game, I know I was not anywhere close to what actually happened.
First of all, to several people, I owe an apology. Tennessee first quarter, 13.5. I mean, you barely covered that in 4 quarters, so I'm sorry. My DraftKings account is completely drained. It says, if you look in the corner, it says deposit. It doesn't say a dollar amount. It says deposit. So get that out of the way. But
I was there. I was in that boat with Britt. I literally, if you don't believe me, you can ask Britt. I texted him and said, "You believe in it? I'm getting in." And I got in, and I lost money.
But yeah, this was any loss sucks. Okay. Any loss sucks, but the kind of loss that leaves you questioning literally everything is the worst.
Yep.
It is the worst kind of loss. And that's how many Tennessee fans feel today, even 3 days later. It's just like, for me, I don't want to say there's no hope, but
this is
Saturday night, there wasn't any.
This is one of those games that's going to break some people in the fan base. It's going to have some fans being like on Tuesday, like, today some fans are going to be like, I'm good. I think it was just one game. I think I'm good with it. And tomorrow morning they're going to wake up and be mad about it again. I think this loss for Tennessee is really similar to the Georgia State loss a couple weeks ago for Vandy. You think you know something about this team, and then they come out and lay an egg. Vanderbilt was 11-point favorites over Georgia State, and Tennessee was 13.5, I think is where that line ended up settling. 14, somewhere right in there. Correct, Britt?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
14.
you're two touchdown favorites, and you come out and the best part of your team looks flat, the offense, and there was some questionable things, which I'm sure me and Britt will get into. But just to read that was the final there in Fayetteville was 19-14. Arkansas won. Britt, where do you want to start? There's several places I feel like we could start in this game. I have went back and watched it twice now, and
gosh,
yeah, I've watched it twice.
Sorry.
Brutal offense, brutal game to go back and watch.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, let's start with offense. So going into this week, good news: both of your tackles are back. Your starting tackles are back. John Campbell, Lance Hurd. After the game, they were your 2 lowest rated players on Pro Football Focus. Lance Hurd had a 42 rating Saturday, and there's videos going all over Twitter of him just looking terrible. Now, I don't want to be hard on John Campbell. John Campbell's body has turned against him. His body has betrayed him. He's got issues. He looked bad. Lance Hurd is simply not in football shape. I texted a friend in the game. I said, Lance Hurd is straight up fat. In a line full of big fatties, Lance Hurd looks like Tammy off of the Sisters. Lance Hurd looks huge. He's huffing and puffing. He can't block anybody. He's slow. One thing is, he doesn't want to be out there. His agent doesn't even want him to play. This guy's a 5-star. And the disappointing thing about this game, your two money men, the two men you dropped the bag for, looked absolutely terrible with Lance Hurd and Nico. O-line, you didn't have any, you couldn't throw the ball. I'm texting people, I'm saying we need to throw the ball. They're like, we can't throw the ball. There's no time. And Nico was a statue back. Nico looked terrible. Nico looked so bad. Even the passes that were completed they were behind guys. He killed Squirrel White. Squirrel White probably broke his collarbone. I mean, that's just what it looked like to me. And I was arguing with somebody. They were like, that's a hospital ball. And I'm like, that's not a hospital ball. He could have caught it. But then as I thought, I was like, well, if the pass literally puts you in the hospital, I guess that is a hospital ball. Nico looked bad. Nico, he's not seeing the field at all. He has a good feel for pressure. I think he improved from Oklahoma to this week as far as he didn't take any hits when there was pressure in his blind side. He moved. He made a few good throws, like he stepped up in the pocket and made a good throw early in the game. But overall,
avoided some pressure a few times and made some throws on the run that maybe weren't perfect, but hit his man. Let's focus there for just 1 second, Britt. Nico, let's focus on him for just a second, just so we can go back and forth. So Nico's stat lines, if you're not aware, was 16 of 28 for 156 yards. He took 4 sacks on the game, no touchdowns, no picks. Well, we'll start with all the things surrounding Nico. Of course, you're going to give Nico criticism in this game. I mean, 16 of 28, 156 yards passing. Didn't look well, missed some guys. Agree with Britt. It looks like he looked rattled after the first quarter.
Yeah.
Especially when you go back and watch this game, which if I was Britt, I would not. But no. If you are somebody who can stomach it and can go back and watch it, look at Nico's demeanor from his first drive to the 10th drive. He's not the same guy. He looked rattled. He looked like he was kind of starstruck in a sense of like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm not ready to completely crap the bed on Nico. And I said this a couple weeks ago.
And neither am I.
And, Britt was saying, is Nico the best quarterback in the country? And I said, I don't personally think Nico's a top 10 quarterback in the country, but I think he has the potential to be.
Yeah. And I confused Nico's ceiling with the reality.
Right. Yep.
For sure. And I mean, I don't want to be completely negative. I don't want to ignore that it's on the road at night. They were loud. Several people I've heard say Arkansas was really loud, louder than Oklahoma. You've got a lot of expectations, a lot on your shoulders, but he simply just didn't get it done that night. And I was texting somebody that said Nico looked bad. I said, yeah, he did look bad. Or they said Nico sucks. And I said, he sucked tonight.
Yeah.
Much like Taylon Green was awesome. Now, do I think Taylon Green's an awesome quarterback? Not necessarily. But Saturday night, he looked awesome. But Arkansas comes out, scores 3 on a 9-minute drive. And that's really just the worst case scenario for Tennessee. And I don't know if we need to start electing to receive the ball, but when you start with 3/4 of the first quarter already over and down, that's the first time Nico's ever been down in a game, probably in his whole career. But I know in Tennessee he hasn't trailed in a game. So you were kind of behind the 8 ball. I wasn't impressed necessarily with Sam Pittman. I don't think Sam Pittman did anything special. Honestly, I think Sam Pittman coached a pretty bad game. If you look at their 3rd and 4th down play calling, they kept Tennessee in the game till the end. But if Taylon Green doesn't get hurt and there's better play calls on 3rd and 4th down, they probably blow us out. I have a lot of questions. Like I said, there's questions everywhere, and I know I'm just kind of trauma dumping on Joseph right now. But
no, you're good, dude. I get it completely.
You've got questions. I don't want to say you have questions at quarterback because it's Nico. Nico's not coming out. I think you question how composed he is maybe in a big moment. I mean, he was set up there. I think his coaching may have failed him a little bit, but he was set up there for a moment where, hey, are you the guy or not? We're about to find out. It was set up perfectly for Nico to drive down the field and score. Now, He missed Squirrel White wide open. Absolutely bombed it over his head. He missed Miles Kitselman wide open in the fourth quarter on the last drive. The throw to Dante Thornton in the fourth quarter probably should have been a touchdown if you don't throw it behind him. It's just not a good pass. It's just not. Now, it was 40 yards down the field on the run off his back foot. I'm just saying, if it was a perfectly placed ball, it's a touchdown and you win the game. So I don't want to be too hard on Nico, and I don't want to say this, but it almost seems like if he had a little more experience, he would have performed better.
Yeah. Could have. I think this is something that.
But hindsight is 2020.
Yeah, you're gonna see exactly who this Tennessee team is when they come back home, and you get a really favorable matchup with Florida. But this is adversity. I mean, at its finest. You had to find out the hard way. I mean, you had to find out the hard way that maybe you weren't as good as you thought you were. Or maybe you just didn't. Maybe you were lackadaisical. Which, see, I find it really hard this is why I think this, if I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm going to get negative for a second. I've tried to be positive this far, but I will get negative. If I was a Tennessee fan right now, here's my problem, is if you're coming off a big win or a big loss and you lose the next week and you're like, man, you could tell that team was just hung over in the first half. I did not get that feeling from Tennessee in the first half. Tennessee had 2 weeks to prepare. Tennessee was just getting beat, especially on the offense. Their defensive line, Tennessee didn't get a sack until 9 minutes to go in the third quarter. That was their first sack. You hadn't seen that from Tennessee yet. You saw a pretty dominant pressure, sacks, blowing things up in the backfield. Now, Auburn's offense didn't necessarily go crazy.
Yeah,
Arkansas. But Arkansas's offense had the ball 35 minutes of this game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wasn't necessarily they were scoring all kinds of points, but they were picking up 2 or 3 first downs. And then, and then maybe Tennessee was stepping up and then forcing the punt. And, and then things were happening. But still, 19-14, I mean, this is really just an embarrassing performance for Tennessee's offense, especially for Heupel.
Oh, yeah.
As a coach, you only score 14 on a team that is, I guess Arkansas is 4-2. I didn't realize they were 4-2.
And I'll touch on, I've got another section of defense to talk about, but I understand you were handicapped by offensive line play, but I mean, you had everybody back healthy, Josh. Whose does it fall on that we have no depth on the offensive line? Who does it fall on that we don't have any stability on the offensive line? It falls on Josh Heupel, bottom line. And so when you're having to do run, screen, run, punt like 8 times in this game, if I see one more pass to the sideline where it's a 25-yard throw to gain 3 yards, I'm going to lose my mind.
I feel that.
It is so much of a high percentage, a much better percentage play to just hand the ball to Dylan Sampson. What are we doing? And now Bru McCoy's broke his hand. He's hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll play next week, but Bru McCoy has a broken hand. He had it before the game.
Yeah.
Squirrel White probably broke his collarbone. Dante Thornton's hurt. I think he has broken ribs or something. Tennessee's receivers, I said coming into the year that we're the deepest that we've been in a while, and I still believe that. Nobody stands out. Dante Thornton stands out. I'll say Dante Thornton stands out, but who else? We don't throw the ball to Bru McCoy. Squirrel White is the most disappointing player in recent memory as far as expectations after their freshman year. And then his sophomore and junior year, he's been not good.
Right.
He can't handle the ball. He doesn't catch the ball very often. When he does, he falls down. He's not tough. What happened to Squirrel White? That's my question. I'm sorry, Joseph. It's like I'm
you're
shooting
good.
You out.
You're fine. You're good, man. I'm not upset at all.
But Josh Heupel punting on 4th and 3, up by 1 point in the fourth quarter on Arkansas side of the field is completely unacceptable. I realize Arkansas had a backup quarterback in. They weren't necessarily moving the ball very well, but you can put them away there. It's unacceptable. This is the guy that he did an onside kick against Kent State up 30 in the first quarter. This is the same guy that punted the ball right here. And here we go. Josh Heupel gets up there, after the onside kick, the opponent is nameless. The opponent is faceless. We just go out and dominate. And then this performance. It's completely, like Joseph said, it's embarrassing. It's completely embarrassing that Omar Norman-Lott tried to kill their quarterback. He tried to kill Taylon Green. He hit him in the knee with his helmet. That's so embarrassing. It's embarrassing that Amari Thomas freaking throws a frat kid into his girlfriend. That's so freaking. It's embarrassing when Jordan Ross or whatever his name is just slaps the punter in the face on 4th and 4 and gives him a first down. It's so embarrassing. Everything about it is embarrassing. Okay, go ahead.
I had a note to ask Britt about Mr. Thomas shoving the dude into the girl. So glad Britt covered that.
Listen, the same way that Vanderbilt was 2022 Tennessee, taking down Alabama, taking the freaking goalpost to Broadway. That's awesome. That's so cool. That's the same way Tennessee was Alabama, and you assault somebody, you look stupid.
Yeah.
And your coach sucked. Alabama should have won that game in 22. It was like 30 seconds left, and they throw the ball 3 times and miss a field goal. Alabama should have won that game. Stupid coaching.
Nick Saban bum. Nick Saban bum.
Well, y'all didn't beat him, but
don't care. He's a bum.
We did once. So congrats to us. Congrats to us. But it's the same thing. It's so embarrassing. Defense.
Yeah, I get it.
I think our defensive line was really good, especially in the first half. Defensive line and Dylan Sampson are the only 2 things I don't question. Dylan Sampson was talking his stuff after the game. He said, hey, the guys simply were goofing off during bye week. And he can say that because he had over 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah. And he was open on the last. I've seen it floating around. Dylan Sampson was open on the last play or on the second to last play. But when Nico looked his way, he was the first read. He was covered up. So just move past that. I think your cornerbacks have improved. Joseph, you ain't talking. I'm going to talk over you the whole time. Cornerbacks have improved. It didn't matter. Taylon Green was awesome. Taylon Green looked really good. Your linebackers looked terrible. Keenan Peely looked like Tim Walls out there trying to play linebacker. He had no clue what was going on.
Can I say something about him?
Who, Tim Walls?
No, Keenan Peely.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, let me say this. Mr. Peely, sir, I went back and watched this game twice, and you are the biggest liability on the defense. And
he doesn't know what's going on.
And it's absolutely unacceptable because you should be like, you should have tenure for your job. You're almost 27 years old, Mr. Peely, and you suck at football. That's pitiful. Get this. I never want to see that dude on the field again.
Dude,
and I'm not even a Tennessee fan.
Okay, he sucked on, but that's the thing that's so mystifying about this game. Keenan Peely has been awesome this year. Keenan Peely has been awesome. Saturday, he didn't know his butt from a hole in the ground. He didn't know what the crap was going on. Yeah. Neither did Aaron Carter. Aaron Carter didn't play a bad game, but the communication there, the D line, we had D linemen running out there as the ball snapped like 3 times. I'm like, how is this possible? Back to offense. Tennessee's offense doesn't run fast anymore. It hasn't since Hendon Hooker was at quarterback. I don't think it works unless you go super duper fast. I just don't. We don't go fast anymore. We just don't.
Yeah. Confusion is the key for Tennessee's offense. They want to confuse the corners on what their assignments are and break them down. The problem is, and I actually told this, me and good friend Harrison Davis were chatting it up, and I said ultimately this is what happened. I said either hype. I don't know if who you exactly want to say here. Maybe you want to say Heupel. Maybe you want to say the fans. Maybe you want to say whatever. But the fact that Hendon Hooker could run the offense, don't talk about his accuracy, nothing. The way he controlled the offense, the way he got everybody in the right spot, he knew exactly what the playbook was. He knew it like the back of his hand. Just the way he orchestrated it, that was taken for granted. Even by somebody who respected Hooker a lot, like me, I didn't really realize how much he was just not carrying the offense, but just orchestrating it all, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and another thing that we're missing, and it gets kind of cringe just comparing everything to Hendon Hooker, but Hendon Hooker's the best quarterback we've seen in a long time. Hendon Hooker, he would make his 2 or 3 reads, whatever he was doing. If nothing's there, okay, I'm running. I'm getting 20 yards. And while I think Nico can do that, he's more of a pro style. I'm not comparing him to Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers. I'm just saying he's more of a pro style player in I'm going to scramble and continue to look down the field and just see if something opens up. While that may work, I don't know.
Yeah. I love when my quarterback does that. I will never complain about it. Now, sometimes though, you got to know when it's time to go get a first down with your legs, you got to get a freaking first down with your legs.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just time to go get one. And you got to know that and go get it, lower your shoulder and go after it. Britt, I'll ask you this question. Obviously, we know how you were feeling before this game. We know your expectations of Tennessee before this game. Expectations change. We've said that on this podcast multiple times. Have your personal expectations changed? And kind of give us your vibe check. How do you feel about the team right now?
I'll start negative first. Just as a view of the program, I've been thinking like, what is Tennessee's best win since beating Alabama at Neyland Stadium? Now, take away Clemson and Iowa. The season was over. Who is the best win Tennessee has since 22 Alabama? Is it Texas A&M last year? Is it?
Didn't y'all play at LSU?
No, that was before Alabama.
That wasn't even a good win, really.
Is it Oklahoma? I don't know who it is. I mean, the answer, if you include it, is probably Clemson.
Did you play Florida at the Swamp after Bama?
No, we played them before and beat them. But
y'all always play Florida first.
Everything is the vibe check is I don't know what's going on. And I'm embarrassed is what I am. Listen, Tennessee was on top of the world going into this game. And now everything looks so cringe. Everything looks so freaking cringe. You've got 45-year-old, whatever, 50-year-old Peyton Manning in his freaking uniform like a weirdo. And Josh Heupel and the guys strutting out there like rock stars with Morgan Wallen. And we were like, this is so awesome. This is so cool. Now, look how dumb that looks now. We've got players posting B2A, belt to ass. We're going to kill everybody. Now look at it. You scored 14 points against Sam Pittman. The onside kick, it looks so stupid. Everything looks so stupid now. So yeah. I'm embarrassed. That's the negative side. The positive side is nothing's changed. If you win against Florida, let's go back to negative. If you lose to Florida, it's over. If you lose to Florida Saturday, it is over. And I don't think that's an overreaction.
Will you be back to Neyland if they lose to Florida on Saturday?
Well, I have to because I spent $1,400 freaking dollars on Alabama tickets, which that looks stupid. Sure. How stupid does that look?
That's the mid-off.
Oh my gosh. But what I'm saying, what was I saying? Oh, if you lose to Florida, I'm not joking, and I don't think it's an exaggeration. You have to fire Josh Heupel. Not because he lost to Florida and not because he lost to Arkansas, but because he's not a winner. And you want your coach to be a winner.
I will tell you this, they will not fire Josh Heupel.
They won't, but it'll be just like Butch Jones in 2015. He should have been fired. In 2016, he should have been fired. Not throwing shade. It just happened to be South Carolina and Vanderbilt. Not throwing shade at you, but you were a lot better than both of those teams, and you got beat. It's the same thing. If the writing is on the wall, I know you don't want to. I don't want to fire Josh Heupel. I like Josh Heupel. He's cool. Nobody wanted him when he got here. He's this goofy, sorry, Josh, ugly guy. He's got a little bit of a lisp, but he's a football guy. And he seemed to be a winner there for a little bit. Now that's all in question. Back to positive. If you beat Florida and Alabama, you're back. You're back in the top 5. You're back at looking 10-2 down the barrel, and you simply have to take care of business. You have to.
What was that, Brett? I'm sorry.
If you beat Florida and Alabama, you're back at looking at going 10-2. You're probably in the top 5. You're at 8 right now. Just throwing things around.
Who's at 7? Bama?
Oh yeah, I'm not even sure. You've got Bama and Penn State and Miami and some other teams there, but the positive is win the next 2 weeks, and I'm back.
Okay.
So that's why I want to make it clear I'm not out on Josh. I'm not out on Nico. But I told someone today, like they said, I'm afraid that Josh isn't the guy. And I said, well, we're going to find out very soon. As soon as Saturday, we will find out if Josh Heupel is, quote, the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, just to comment on that really quickly, if I'm a UT fan, I am scared because it looks like you just got beat snap for snap. And with that being said, that should be scary to you as far as what does the rest of the season look like. Also, college football is crazy. And you know, if I'm a UT fan, I think 9-3 is acceptable. Britt may not agree with that. I'm sure several UT fans without a college football playoff trip probably disagree with that. If 9-3 doesn't get you in, you probably disagree with that. But
after a loss to Arkansas, you have to go 9-3.
Yeah, because you're just losing to Georgia and Bama, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I think 9-3 is not acceptable, or is acceptable. Anything less than that, I would definitely start asking questions. Whether that question is you need to be looking for another quarterback because Nico's not the guy. You know, and that could easily be it. And if Nico was a true freshman, I would not be saying this. I think it is very important. Like, this guy had all of last year to learn this playbook, to learn how to orchestrate this offense. Like, this guy's not a fresh 17-year-old kid walked on campus, turned 18 2 months ago. So,
but I mean, it's his sixth start.
But and that's what I was going to say too. But he is young. So, but I think by the end of this year, you will know. That's what I was trying to say. You will know by game 13, because you're going to go to at least a bowl. And when it's all said and done, you're going to know. So, anyways, with all that,
you're playing Florida this week. I'm not doing a breakdown. No keys. You have to win. That's the only key. You literally have to win the game.
Okay.
And luckily, it's a team that you have a lot of success against in the recent future. In the recent history, you have a lot of success playing Florida. So
yeah, I was thinking that as well.
But I'm sorry. I feel like I've stolen the thunder here.
No.
Let's move on. Vanderbilt beat Alabama.
Vanderbilt beat number 1 ranked Alabama. Let me start off by saying this. A lot of Bama fans were like especially Bama fans, like a couple of them texted me and was like, enjoy that Alabama win, or like, everybody loves beating Bama. Hey, I'm just going to tell you something. I know Tennessee likes to beat Bama. Good that y'all are a rival. Y'all should like to beat Alabama. I don't care what team that was. They're the number 1 team in the country. That's all I care about. We beat the number 1 team in the country. Now, beating a blue blood like Bama, Georgia, Ohio State does make it better because it just feels like you get a little bit more respect when you beat somebody like that. So it does make it better, but I'm not happier because we beat Bama. It could have been Georgia at number 1. It could have been Penn State at number 1. I would have been just as happy. I don't give a piss about Bama. So let me start there. I don't care about Bama. Let me say this next. Nick Saban, you're a bum. I'm glad Clark Lee called you a bum. You've been taking shots at Vandy for no reason for the last 15 years, and you got away with it because you're the GOAT and you're just an asshole. And everybody just was like, oh, it's okay because Nick Saban's just an asshole. Well, you're done getting away with it. You suck. You're a bum. And I can't wait until Pat on College Game Day asks you about if Vandy's still hard to play at, because he said he was going to. Well, he's either going to ask him Friday or Saturday, but I hope he waits till game day so you get grilled, you stupid bum, and your wife's old and ugly. Screw you too, Miss Terry. I don't even like you, Terry Saban. So now that that's out of the way, and I got all my Bama hate out, Vanderbilt, what did you say earlier, Britt? You said something. You said, we got players tweeting out B2A.
B2A, yeah.
What does that stand for?
Belt to ass.
40-35. This was old-fashioned belt to ass. This was old-fashioned. Listen, if you're a Vanderbilt fan and you're listening, don't let anybody give you a pity party. Don't let anybody tell you this was a fluke. Vanderbilt got lucky. Don't let them. No. I don't want to hear none of that. I want to hear we lined up man for man, and we beat the hell out of them for 60 minutes. That's all I want to hear about. Because you can go back, like I said, I've watched both games twice. Go back and turn that Vanderbilt film on. That will get you excited for the rest of the season. I talked to somebody, and they said, Joseph, what's your real prediction? And I said, there's nobody left on the schedule we can't beat.
Well, that's what happens when you when you beat the number one team in the nation. You have to, every other game on the schedule is on the table. And like you said, that Alabama team that's a very good team.
Agreed.
I mean, Jalen Milroe, you heard Glaze warning last week. Me and Jalen Milroe, I was all over Jalen Milroe last week. I said Jalen Milroe was awesome.
Me too.
And of course, that one kid, 17, if you didn't know.
Ron Williams, I've never heard that before.
He's 17, if you didn't know that. But it wasn't a fluke. Malachi Moore is awesome. He's very good. But anyways, Vanderbilt.
Very good person.
It wasn't a fluke. Vanderbilt dominated on the field and coaching. I mean, Clark Lee, man, what a game! What a freaking game for Clark Lee.
Agreed.
And the Vanderbilt offense is so good. It's so like, I don't want to say it's unpredictable, but it's like every single play has a purpose.
Yeah. So,
and even like I texted you, there was a play, and normal people would be like, why the crap would you run that play? And I was like, that play right there is on purpose. I was like, something is going to come from that play here in a second. And it just happens. The fourth down, I think it was either the late third or the fourth quarter. The fourth down call, whoever made that call, man.
Yeah.
The balls.
Yeah. Third quarter, 3 minutes to go, 4th and 1 on the 42-yard line of Bama. You can kick a long field goal. You could punt it. If you're up by 2, you could punt it. I feel like a lot of coaches punt there, and they just say, let our defense play.
Josh Heupel punts.
Clark Lee said, we're going to go for it. And they actually, that was not the pass that was supposed to be made, for the record. The pass is all Diego Pavia being a wizard, as Cole Kublik has been calling him, in his sorcery. But it was supposed to be either a check down to the tight end that came off the line, but they double teamed him, or the running back, who also got doubled off the line. So no one else except for Junior. And Diego kind of just threw one up, and Junior Sherrill somehow got under that football and made that catch for 6. A play you've seen Vanderbilt drop, or Diego get sacked, or the ball slip out of his hand. You've seen that play go wrong 1,000 times. And to see it go right, good man, it felt so good. Let's talk about this game. Where do I want to start? I have notes, and I got a lot of them. So let's start. Number 1, Tim Beck. Britt just kind of tried to touch on this. You a chef. You a mastermind, Timmy. You was in your bag, brother. Every play, I love that Britt said this. Every play had a purpose. Every play had a purpose. Every play, he was just playing chess. He was one step ahead of Alabama's DC every time. He was doing this, doing that. And then Diego Pavia, the way he meshes that offense. Listen, that offense, by the way, the reason you never hear me call it anything is because Tim Beck has never named it. That's Tim Beck's offense. He's never named it. So it doesn't have a name. However, until today, when they asked Clark about it, and apparently they have named it Trapdoor, door being spelled, the Trapdoor offense, Dore, which I like. The reason I like it is because there's always an exit. We line up in the pistol, send a guy in motion. Hut, hand off to the running back. Yep, hand it off. First play up the middle, little old school dive. Next play, same formation. Motion, fake it to the running back. Diego keeps it to the backside. Veers left. All the motion's going right, he goes left. Same formation, 2 plays later. Up, fake hand off to the running back, goes in the option with the wide receiver to the right, pitches it out wide. Every play does so, and it all looks the same. And all you're doing is you're saying our quarterback is going to read 2 guys. And if he reads those 2 guys correctly, we're winning every play. The offense is unstoppable as long as the quarterback is doing his job and the OC stays committed and patient to his grind. And that's why the Georgia State game now kind of makes more sense. I see what Tim Beck was trying to do. He was staying committed to his plan, and he was going to go with it and stay patient with it. And he did, and it worked. He scored 22 points in the 4th quarter against Georgia State. It was enough to win. I questioned him. I was an idiot. I don't know ball. Tim Beck, mastermind of a game. Mr. Lee, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for questioning your job. You deserve for your job to be questioned. You lost to ETSU. You lost to Georgia State. But Clark Lee, what I'm sorry about is doubting how much you wanted it. You want it here more just as much as I do. You want it here so much. I could tell how much like university people said on Twitter, they were all over the place talking about how Clark Lee was going to go to Florida, that Florida was going to throw Clark Lee the bag. I was like, listen here, even if Florida or Texas A&M or Georgia threw Clark Lee the bag, I truly don't think he leaves. I think he's like me. He wouldn't leave Vanderbilt no matter what. No matter the amount of money, he just loves Vandy. So I respect that.
Yeah.
Clark Lee, here's your flowers, brother.
Yeah, Clark Lee did something this offseason that could have went horribly wrong. He went to New Mexico State, hired a bunch of coaches, got a bunch of players, and he beat Alabama.
He adapted.
That's what he did.
He adapted, man. He should get a lot of credit for that.
He made a move not out of desperation, but he made a move that not many people would have done. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. And Diego Pavia is just he's so good.
It's almost like you're reading my sheet here. Like that's literally my next point. Is Diego Pavia is not only I literally put this is my exact note number 3. Diego Pavia is not only really, really good. He's one of the best players in the country. And I tried to veer around it after the first 2 weeks. I tried to veer around it. I didn't want to say anything crazy. I didn't want to say I thought Diego Pavia was one of the best quarterbacks in the country. We talked about Nico orchestrating the offense. Vanderbilt fans, soak up every moment you get of this offense with Diego Pavia, because similar to what we said with Hendon Hooker, we're going to be saying this in a few years. He just don't run the offense like Diego did.
And it sounds premature, but I mean, he grades out as one of the best.
Yeah.
Well, his grades, the stats, they're maybe not the stats. The grades are there.
Yeah. The grades, all of his gradings are there. And I mean, like, even if like Jalen Milroe right now, I would say a lot of people consider Jalen Milroe a Heisman candidate, right? Like I would say he's in everybody's top 5. I would guess. Well, Diego Pavia has 973 yards and 8 touchdown passes with no interceptions and 81 QBR. Let's see how many rushing stats he's got here. 973, 8 touchdowns through the air, and he's got 91 carries for 335 yards and 2 touchdowns rushing. I mean, pretty dang good stats. I'm going to pull up Milroe's here just to get him.
The Heisman has not been a respected award since Charles Woodson won it. So
yeah, and then Jalen Milroe has 1,274 yards passed and 11 touchdowns. He has made like 40 more attempts than Diego, just for the record. He's got 2 picks, and then rushing, he's got 59 carries for 283 yards for 9 touchdowns. He has several more touchdowns than Diego, but the volume is less for Diego, and I mean, it's going to be, so his numbers aren't going to be as good. But if you're just talking about who's the most valuable player, which I think is what the Heisman is, the most outstanding player who makes their team that much better, who elevates them, I would argue that it might be Diego Pavia from this point. Diego Pavia, and I'll say this too, if Diego Pavia had a defense in his 2 games and he doesn't have some players drop some catches, this team's 5-0, and Diego Pavia is a top 3 candidate in the Heisman. Because then you'd be looking at his stats and say, oh, not only is his stats this good, like a top 10 player in the country, but his teams, he's led Vandy to being undefeated. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I know I've said this several times, but I texted somebody during the Vanderbilt game, and I said, Diego Pavia is so annoying, but man, he plays hard. And those texts were sent separately. I was like, this Pavia guy's so annoying. And then I see him like sacrificing his body to get a first down in the first quarter. I'm like, but man, he plays hard.
Yeah, I said, and like, it's so easy, and it's going to be so hard, like very similar to like how I felt with Hendon, but for a different reason, is for like, I found it really hard to like dislike Hendon Hooker when he was with Tennessee, because I just like, man, he's such a good dude. Well, like, I think Pavia gives that same vibe, but just with the way that he plays. Like, he will lay out, like, one of his linemen got like pushed into the ground and he's throwing the D lineman off of him and helping his lineman up. Like, he's just a guy that you're like, this dude's infectious. This dude's infectious with the way that he plays and the way that he carries himself, and he's a good dude. He does cuss a little. You heard him cuss a little on the thing, but also I will say this too. I saw a lot of like older people talking about he's got to clean it up in the interview. Man, I don't. I do. I think you should have clean language, 100%. I have tried to clean up my language. I know Britt has tried to do the same. We both think that you should try to eliminate from your vocabulary as a Christian, which Diego Pavia is. So speaking of him in that tone, he's also a young guy. I don't know. I'm not trying to excuse it. I'm just saying I think that's a little crazy. I wouldn't be that hard on him.
This is the biggest moment of his life.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, that's stupid. Next point. Let me just say this. This is my greatest moment as a sports fan. Not close. I cried when we won. I honestly, as a Vanderbilt fan, to get kind of emotional here, as a Vanderbilt fan, this year, once we lost to Georgia State, because I thought last year, I have believed in Clark. I think a lot of people know that. I have believed in Clark Lea. I've questioned him a lot and even been super critical, but I've believed in him. And last year when I thought we were going to be pretty good and we were, and then this year I was like, well, I'm going to buy in one more time, and then you lose to Georgia State. I was like, I may have to face it. We may not get it. Like, I may never get to see that glorious moment that I wanted to see. You get, a top 15 ranked Tennessee and Vandy matchup. I may not get to see that. I may not get to see that. And then a bye week later, I watch it happen. After driving 8 hours to Mizzou and watching it, just like it seems like you've watched 2,000 other Vanderbilt games go, and you're right there, and you find a way to lose it. Finally, Vanderbilt turned the tables.
Yeah, and I was about to say it gives you something to point to, but that wouldn't be saying enough about it. It's even bigger than that. Yeah, and I told you, I said it cannot be quantified, like what this means.
Vanderbilt got 2 recruits who they haven't came out yet unless you have a subscription. So I'm not a guy who ruins paywalls. I know that's how Vanderbilt Sports Writer gets paid. So I'm not going to say anything too crazy. But Vanderbilt got 2 4-stars after that were at the game that committed after the game. A 2026 and a 2025, both 4 stars. Like, both top 300 players in the nation. Like, and that's in 10 seconds. And they say recruiting classes are always a year behind. So can Vanderbilt make a run in this 2026 class? Because remember, I talked about it before the season started. Vanderbilt has closed the athletic gap. Now we can knock you. Now we can knock you off. Now we can punch at you. But imagine if we had the same talent. Imagine if we moved up 15 spots in the recruiting class or 20 spots in the recruiting class. Remind you, if we would have moved up 20 last year, we're still 15 behind UT. If you move up 22 spots, you're still 15 behind UT. So, like, the talent gap is still far. We did well in the transfer portal, but the talent gap is still, we're not all the way there. But this just shows you how much has come. That's a shout out to Clark, to Barton Simmons, to all the boys there. That 4th and 1 play that we already talked about, I didn't say this. That is the greatest play in Vanderbilt history, in my opinion. I've never had a play electrify me like that in my life. That just told me, because everybody thought when it was 23-21 on 4th down, and when they had the ball, even when we got the strip sack, everybody thought we were going to, or I'm sorry, it was 30-28, I believe, when we got that strip sack or something or 33-28. But when we were down multiple times in that game, I believe a lot of the country was saying we were going to lose. We were going to lose. A lot of the country was saying we were going to lose. Matter of fact, me and Britt were texting in the first half, and Britt was like, hey, man, I think y'all really need to get one more score here. And I agreed with him. I thought we need to get one more score there too. But Britt thought that because he was like, if it's close, Bama's going to take this thing from them.
Yeah, and that's how you felt after halftime. You were like, well, it's just a typical, hey, it was fun, but now here's Bama.
But Vanderbilt stepped up, took every punch, took all the blows, and they just kept punching back. Golly, you can't say enough about this team. You could talk about a lot of individual guys. Brandon Fontenette, number 2, who had the pick. Big time play. Didn't like that he ran out of bounds right before the end zone. Thought that was stupid. Didn't understand it at all. But whatever. Diego Pavia, I've said enough about him, but he's phenomenal. Eli Stowers, talked about him a lot.
Yeah, he's good.
Before the season, he is really good. 6 receptions for 113 yards on 7 targets. I talked about him and how happy I was for having him for 2 more years. He keeps playing like this, he may not stick around for another year in college, because tight ends that move like him and are his size and can block, they don't come around very often. So he may not stick around. So shout out to him for sure. Junior Shell had a huge day. Brock Taylor, shout out to him, 2 for 2 with a 51-yarder after missing an extra point. It took a lot of balls for Clark to send him out there after missing an extra point for a 51-yarder, because if he missed that, I was clowning Clark. He made it. He made Clark look good. Shout out to him. The defense hasn't been perfect, but they've done enough. They've done their job. Vanderbilt possessed the ball for 42 minutes and 8 seconds. Bama only had it for 17 minutes and 52 seconds. We had 418 total yards, 252 passing, 166 rushing, 26 first downs. We completed 12 out of 16 third downs against Bama. Diego Pavia on third down was 8 for 10 with 7 conversions for 100 yards passing. He was absolutely electric on 3rd and 5 or less.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He picked every one of them up. He's the reason you won the game. We had 1 sack, which was on the strip sack, which was huge. We forced 2 turnovers. Finally, got the penalties down, boys. I drove that home 2 weeks in a row, and you only committed 3 penalties to Bama 6. Great job. Also, I always have harped about this, so let me give them their flowers too. Refs, thank you for when Vanderbilt made a good play, not thinking, well, they go to Vandy and this other team's Bama. There's no way they're better than them, so that had to be pass interference flag. You let Vanderbilt play physical football with this team, and I appreciate that. So thank you to the reffing crew as well. I thought calls were missed both ways. I went back and watched the game. Calls were missed both ways. That's just football. Hell of a game. You've changed the trajectory not only of Vanderbilt season this year, but probably of history. This is the turning point that me and Britt have harped on for 2 years, I think, for this program. You can't say enough positive things about it. Now, we got to stack it. You got to build. You go to Lexington this weekend. Vegas does not believe in you, Vandy. I don't even know if they watched your game. I don't know. Y'all see this picture behind me? Goalpost in the Cumberland. I don't know if Vegas is aware of that. They got you as 14 and a half point underdogs against Kentucky in Lexington. I'm not saying we're going to win. I'm just saying, how are we 2 touchdown underdogs?
Yeah, and taking a step, just looking forward here, how have expectations changed? Because they have. You've got 7 games left: Kentucky, Ball State, Texas, Auburn, South Carolina, LSU, and Tennessee. What do you think?
I'll say this. Okay, can I say something kind of crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Do you care if I say something a little bit crazy?
Mm-hmm. No, I don't.
Let me get crazy. I think this goes 2 different ways for me. I think this season's crazy, right? We've learned that relatively quickly. First time ever that 2 top 5 teams went down in the same weekend against 2 unranked opponents. Texas A&M drummed the hell out of Missouri. Things are just a little crazy right now, so anything can happen. But it would be kind of hard to leave Vanderbilt, a 9-3 Vanderbilt, out of the playoff with wins over 2 top 5 ranked teams, Bama and Tennessee or Texas. If you go 9-3, you got to beat one of those. You got to beat one of the UTs. You go 9-3. I don't see any way possible you leave them out. You would also get a ranked win on the road at LSU.
I don't think you can get in at 9-3.
I think with 3 top 15 ranked wins, and I think you get in. You're in the SEC. You beat everybody you could, and then you always have the argument as well. Hey, our season turned at Bama.
You have an argument.
We're a completely different team. So
and the committee has shown with the 4 team that what happens at the beginning of the season doesn't matter anyways.
True. So I just think when you're looking at it, 9-3, I would think is if you shot for the absolute moon. I don't think Vanderbilt is going to be able to pull off 9-3. To be honest with you, I don't. I think if you ask me right now, Joseph, what's your expectations? What's the minimum that you're happy with? The minimum that I'm happy with
6.
right now is 7-5. That's the
Okay.
minimum. That's the floor. 7-5. So you've got 3 wins right now. Okay, you've got 3 wins right now. You beat Kentucky this weekend. You beat Ball State the week after that. Then you play Texas, and that's okay. So let's just say you lose to them. You're 5-4. You beat South Carolina. You beat Auburn. They're 7. Throw in a win over LSU, cool. Throw in a win with UT, cool. Throw in a win with Texas, cool. Throw me in some other ones, that's fine. But I need South Carolina and Kentucky for sure. At Auburn, you're playing on the road, anything can happen. South Carolina and honestly Kentucky, just because of the win, I need it.
Okay,
So-
Kentucky's on the road though.
Kentucky is on the road though.
Okay, gotcha.
But I mean, this is a great spot for Vanderbilt to play Kentucky. The only thing that sucks, this is the kicker for this game for me. Kentucky's had 2 weeks to prepare. And I know a lot of people are like, man, people over proportion, or blow the bye out of proportion. I think having the 2 weeks to prepare is huge. I mean, shoot, look at Vandy. They were prepared super well. They knew what they had to do when they executed. Kentucky's been out of a bye after coming off the Ole Miss win. At least they are riding high, I guess, like we are. I guess that's a positive way to look at it. Britt, what do you think about this game? What are your thoughts about Kentucky after the Ole Miss win? I mean, obviously they have a top 5 defense in the country after playing Ole Miss, so we know their defense is elite.
Kentucky's defense looked good against Ole Miss. I think they're another team that you don't really know what they have. I mean, they're averaging like 22 points a game on offense, which is pretty terrible. They got blown out by South Carolina at home in week 2. So I think they're just another team that you're not really sure what they've got. But at the end of the day, it's Kentucky. So I think anytime you play Kentucky, you have a chance, if not a good chance, to beat them. That's how I always look at Kentucky.
We've historically, I mean, every now and then we get randomly blown out, but we usually play a pretty good game with Kentucky. It's usually pretty close. We obviously beat them there in 2022 last time, which, obviously brings down some extra juice. A lot of the guys that were on the team then is on the team now, so they remember when we came in there and beat them. But I think when you look at this game, you've got to talk. Oh, also a group of guys I didn't even shout out. It was their best performance of all time. Offensive line against Bama. The offensive line was absolutely phenomenal. They all did their job. I mean, I guess I kind of touched on them when I said every man did their job, but they deserve a huge round of applause. Our offensive line coach headbutted one of them, busted his nose open. His nose is freaking gushing of blood. He's not leaving the sideline. And Clark Lee kind of like looked at him and was like, he said in the press conference, he said, it's a good thing when you look over and your offensive line coach nose is just gushing with blood and he's screaming at his players. He's like, that's the guy I want to be my O-line coach. You can tell that offensive line is mean. They were nasty. You need that performance again against Kentucky. You need to try to establish the run, keep Diego upright as much as you can, let him do his thing, let him cook, perform some wizardry back there. So I'm going to say key number 1, O-line, do it again. O-line, I need you to do it again. I really do. O-line, you're going to be key number 1 of this game. Key number 2 is going to be defense. Don't play terrible. Don't let a deep ball kill you. Make Kentucky sustain drives. Their offense is not that good. I'm going to say defense, key number 2, hold them to less than 24 points. Less than 24 points. I think you have a good chance to win.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Key number 3, special teams. Continue to be great. Continue to be great special teams. Need to continue to win special teams. Great job there. All 3 phases of the game, this team looked good this past week. Man, build on it, Clark. Build on it. Clark, you got all my respect, all my love. I love Vanderbilt. I cannot believe this is my life.
Yeah, and if you're a Vanderbilt fan, your hope is that they are preparing as hard, if not harder, than they did against Alabama.
Yes, and Clark is saying they have had a really good week so far. And if you remember, before the Georgia State week, he said our guys aren't locked in. They suck. Basically, this week they've sucked. They're not paying attention. They're not dialed. And then the week after the bye, he said, we just had our best practice of the week. This team's focused. This team's hungry. I think we're going to have a good shot this weekend. And you go out and you knock the top team of the country off. I mean, I think I'm just going to start listening to what he said in his press conferences. He said, we look good. I believe we look good. I believe we're going to go up there and give it a really good game. Britt?
Yeah, things you want to hear. Ooh, score prediction. I'm not going to give a score prediction.
No score prediction, Britt?
I think it could go so many different ways. I think I'm going to sit this one out. I've said too many things that made me look stupid on this podcast in the last few months. So,
well, that's all right. A few more ain't going to change them. You know what I'm saying?
All right, and give me Vandy.
Just 100.
Give me Vandy 11-9.
Yep, I like that.
You like that?
3 field goals and a safety.
Yep.
All right, there it is. There it is right there. That is all you need to know about the Doors. You need to celebrate if you're a Doors fan. If you're not a Doors fan, still celebrate. I don't even care. Still celebrate.
Yeah, for sure. Congrats, Joseph. Glad you got to enjoy that.
Thank you. It was amazing. Still
you
riding
want to look at some gambling stuff?
Get some bets here. Let's get some bets here, Britt.
Let's do it.
All right.
Absolutely insane college football weekend coming up.
Oh, I was 2 for 5 last week. That officially has me hitting on 64% of my bets, by the way.
Oh, I was bad. Let me check what I was.
Yeah, I was 2 for 5. That's got me at 64% for the season. I'm telling you this right now, though, guys. I'm not promising you that this parlay is going to hit, but it's a flyer. If it hits, we're rich, boys. I'll say that. It's a flyer.
Oh yeah, you always say your odds, and it'll be like plus 500, and mine is always like plus 2,800 or something. It will never happen.
This is a flyer. This is a flyer right here. It's going to be like plus 4,000 probably.
Yeah, and I'm betting big games. I'm betting big teams, big spreads.
Pretty much.
So I'm going to give mine first. We got to switch up the mojo. I'm going first.
Okay, got it.
I like Alabama to bounce back at home against South Carolina. Alabama minus 21 points. Shane Beamer, I hate you, Shane Beamer. You're a loser. Moving on, I've got Oklahoma plus 14.5 against Texas. History will show you that Oklahoma kind of has Texas' number.
Facts.
I don't think there's any way Oklahoma wins this game, but I like them with the points at home. Penn State minus 5 at Southern Cal. I don't have much to say about that. I've got Florida plus 15 at Tennessee. History will also show you that this will be a contested game. I think Tennessee wins, but I like Florida in the points. And then Ohio State at Oregon. Very good game. Maybe the game of the week. I like Ohio State minus 3 at Oregon.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. I just realized my parlay is only 4 picks, but it's 4 underdogs. Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't want to read this out loud. All right. First game, actually, it's not all underdogs. One of them's not. I just realized that. All right. First pick, though, is not an underdog. BYU money line. They're playing Arizona. They're like 3.5-point favorites. I don't think Arizona's very good, and BYU's been playing super freaking hungry. I really like BYU. It's at home, which you got to love in college football. Next game is San Diego State in Wyoming. Wyoming is 4.5-point dogs. They're playing at home once again. Wyoming, if you didn't know, is rowdy. They have a great home atmosphere. It's projected to be super close, obviously, with them being 3.5-point dogs. So you get in them at plus 125. I think it's great odds. Next game is Washington State at Fresno State. Once again, Fresno State money line. Another dog, about 4.5 points. You're playing at home. They're playing at night. Another place got a good atmosphere when they're good. So you can get another home atmosphere there. I really like it. Give me Fresno State. Last game, Vanderbilt at Kentucky. I can't believe I'm going to say it. Give me Vanderbilt money line. Vanderbilt's coming high off a huge win. I think they're dialed in. I think they want more than just beat the number 1 team. I think this team is hungry. I think they know that if they win this game and then beat Ball State in a week, they're going to be ranked and hosting Texas in Nashville in a couple weeks. So I think they can see the sun almost. They can see the horizon. That's my motivation there for picking Vandy. $10 wins 375. You're at plus 3,700 odds here. So it is a flyer, but we're gonna go off. We're gonna let the beat go off this week with the bets. Let's try to hit one.
Let's do it. Thank you everybody for listening.
Yes, we always enjoy y'all listening. I hope y'all had a blessed weekend just like I did, honestly. I hope y'all had an absolute huge weekend.
Yep. On an adult note, it's a beautiful week.
It's a beautiful week.
The weather's supposed to be beautiful this week.
Yep.
I'm getting married Saturday.
Yep.
It's gonna be beautiful.
I ate some turnip greens on Sunday and they tasted like
Praise God.
They tasted like we beat the number 1 team in the country the day before. So that's all I know. Anchor down as always. And just a little sneak peek for this weekend.
That's crazy. Go
Anchor
Vols,
down, boys.
baby.
See y'all later. Anchor down.
Goodbye.